Star Trek Lower Decks Review, Season 1, Episode 2.
Yeah, I don't even remember if they ever if they put names of like episode names. I just know the ones the version I found didn't have episode names, just episode 1, episode 2.
This will be
But
easy to find.
now, what do you do with a drunken Klingon?
Apparently, you let him pilot a shuttle and rage across a city, finding the strongest ale he can.
It's the quest for stronger booze.
Hey, that is an
So,
honorable quest.
technically, that's just a Klingon pub crawl.
Yes, right before a peace negotiations.
Well, you have to be drunk to go to a peace negotiation. That shit's boring as hell.
That's
Which makes
true.
me wonder if Klingons, like, okay, you have the Khitomer Accords, so the Federation and the Klingons are allies. They dipped for a while during DS9, but they came back. And as far as we know, they're still in order, at least up until this point in history. I haven't watched any of the Discovery where they've jumped into the future and whatnot.
I thought Discovery took place in the past.
It does, but then at some point they go to the future. Like that's an entire season's worth of stuff that they that's a major thing. I mean, spoilers, but yeah, it's not really a that's like a major part of the season, so it's just like but I don't know when you get to the future whether the kid or I guess maybe by that time they've been in different media that at a some point the Romulans and the Klingons both get folded into kind of a bigger federation. So that's a thing. It depending on what one you go with, whose lore you go with. I think the Romulans end up in there, but yeah, it's basically just one big happy fleet. But it makes me wonder if when they're set at the table with you have the Federation and a bunch of other things represented at the table, like do the Klingons just go, I don't really want to do negotiations, so for these Federation guys, they love their negotiations, so why don't I just...
Oh my gosh, it just cut me out.
Oh, hey, welcome back.
Where did it leave off? Like, what did it cut me off?
I didn't even know you left.
What? I was in the middle of talking for like 5 minutes straight.
Oh, well, we didn't hear, and I don't know that we heard much of any of that.
I was saying that since Picard, it takes place, I think, around the same time the series Picard does, and we do have them like coincide with we do see guests from other treks in Lower Decks, making cameo appearances and stuff. It would be interesting to see if they ever do an episode where they tie Picard and Lower Decks together.
I'm sure they will at some point, but yeah.
Like they do it, CBS has a habit of doing that. They've done that so many times with like MacGyver, Hawaii Five-0, NCIS.
Well, I mean, that's just also just Star Trek in general.
Exactly, and since this is canonically the same thing, it would be interesting to have like crossover episodes. Since they've done like two-parter episodes where like one episode is in one show and the other episode of that, like, it continues into the other series, like other episode. It would be interesting to see if they ever do that with Picard, because they do take place in the same time and like in the same franchise.
Same universe, same timeline. Well, if they do that, I'm not sure they would go that far, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like, we're not going to see Boimler in Picard, but we might see somebody from Picard show up. Like, Seven of Nine might show up at some point. That's really
or
not
like
that.
have events in Picard crossover with that, so like they have this big battle that I haven't seen Picard, so I mean I've only seen like the first 2 episodes because then the stream that I was watching crashed. But and I couldn't find it again. But like if there's a big like story arc that follows between the two, probably not having the cartoon characters appear at themselves in the thing, but have like the story continue in the other show, you know?
If they were doing that, I think it would be mostly like, it would be a sort of Forrest Gump. Well, not Forrest Gump necessarily, but like they'd be in the background of something. Like, what they might do on Picard is, like, you, as an Easter egg, you might see a Cerritos California class show up in the background at some point, or they might they might have the Cerritos passing by something, like in the opening when the Romulans and the Borg are fighting each other. They get shot at and then they run away. It's that sort of situation.
I was gonna say, this episode made me really want a bowl of worms.
It did not for me. I'm not sure what.
Slimy, delicious worms.
Yeah, it's not as tasty as you think. I have had it before. I mean, not gach itself, but I have had a bowl of worms before.
Yum. Slimy.
Okay.
So
it's a very weird sensation having them crawl down your throat.
So is it true that like Klingon names all sound the same because they have an apostrophe in them?
Not even that, really, because I mean.
No. Balana's mother is named Miral, and there is no apostrophe. It's Miral.
And her daughter is named.
Well, her daughter's named
after her, so that's another one on the list. And
yeah.
Worf and Kern and Rodek. Though I think that I'm not sure if that's a house of, or if that's
wasn't it Mog?
Well, House of Moog was Worf's house. His in Kern, but Kern was, due to issues that happened, Kern was sort of brainwashed into thinking he was by Worf so that he would be part of another house. He would show up again as another house after some issue cropped up, and so I think he took the name Rodek.
So I mean, the point is, there are a lot of cases where there's no apostrophe in the
what Orf?
Huh?
It's what Orf?
I don't think Martok has it either, but I could be wrong. But yeah, there's
no. I think it's MAR apostrophe TAQ.
I don't think so. I think it's spelled very similar to how it sounds.
Well, that's because that's the anglicized version or whatever you. Hold on.
Well, Memory Alpha just has it as Martok, just Martok.
Oh, it is Martok.
Yeah, they didn't go anything. They didn't do anything fancy with it. But yeah, there's a lot of Klingons that don't have a...
Okay, I have a list. I'm looking at a list of Klingons here.
Oh no.
And none of them have apostrophes. Gowron, Sorella, Worf, Kalis, Moog.
Yeah, I mean, it shows up. I mean, I imagine there's somebody that has it, but it might be a
I would say Alexander, but that's just
yeah, not even yeah, that's not even.
So,
Drax.
so what you're saying is the
Kern.
writers of this cartoon show didn't do research.
No, I'm saying that that was probably just not the writers themselves. It was more of a sarcastic line said by Mariner rather than a factual line.
Yeah,
Plus, of getting around the fact that she actually did know the guy.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
There's plenty of them that do have the, you know,
But it's more of
Orin.
a it was more of one of those, oh, that's probably because they all have the apostrophe. It just makes them all the names sound alike, as opposed to saying that's because I do know the guy.
Yeah. Beat the shit out of you all the time.
And I mean, there are humans with the apostrophe too. Does that make Miles O'Brien a Klingon?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Irish are battle hungry, are pretty fiery tempered, and do love to get drunk.
That is true.
But anyway, yeah, that was sort of a weird line because yes, there are some that have the apostrophe, but no. But yeah, it's funny how she says that. But if you look at most of the characters that we know, it's like no, there's no apostrophe with that one. No, not with that one either. Like, you start going through it and like, it's mostly you don't. There's no. Well, I guess there's apparently Takuvma is a pretty important thing in Discovery. He's a pretty important character in Discovery, but other than and Jula, but like
Well, I mean,
if you've heard of somebody, like there's a main Klingon character in like from TOS to Enterprise, I mean at least TNG to Enterprise, they
Kayla,
don't have it's a marking of a minor character that they have an apostrophe.
Kalar, who is played by the same chick who plays Lady Q. She's Alexander's mother.
Yeah, but again, it marks a side character, important character, but a side character. Like anybody who's a main Klingon character, uh, Gowron, no apostrophe. Basically, it marks somebody who's on the the lower end of importance. Like Gowron constantly shows up in DS9, so Martok constantly, Worf constantly, get Kern.
Worf is a main character.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't have an apostrophe, so it follows the trend that
he is like on the cast list.
Yeah, I know. That was that was my point, was that if you have an apostrophe in your name, you're going to be there maybe an episode or two. You might show up later, but you're not going to be a character that's repeatedly there until you get to
B'Elanna.
Oh yeah, it worked until I got to B'Elanna.
He is a main cast character.
Yeah,
with an apostrophe.
Yeah, it works for most of them though. She's the only exception that I can think of off the top of my head. Within the original, within like up until Enterprise, Discovery, they have Takuvma and Jula and all that, so then apostrophes become important. But before that, they like we've gone on 5 minutes about apostrophes and Klingon names, so
yeah.
I think we've tread this into the ground, stomped on it again, and then tread on it some more.
I gotta say,
at this point, we're beating a dead horse.
As it does too, definitely make a cute couple.
Which two?
No,
Darkness.
I don't think they're more of. They are the Cerritos' version of Harry and Tom.
Who? You talk about
Mariner
Mariner and
Boimler.
Boimler?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about Cyborg Dude and
Or
Grim
is it
Chick.
Rutherford and
Oh,
Tindy?
Yeah.
It could work, but it doesn't have. It does. We don't have enough
Yeah,
yet.
I think it's more of a bromance type thing there.
Yeah, it could if there's give. I haven't watched all of it, so I don't know. But it could have. It could work with more content if they were showed more growth. But yeah, I kind of agree with you on the Mariner Boimler comparison to Paris and Kim.
Yeah, they are the Paris and Kim of the Cerritos. Like, Tommy Boimler is not a Harry Kim.
No.
Like, by the book, straight laced. This is not Starfleet regulation.
Always
then-
crapped on from a great height despite trying to do his best.
Yeah, and then there's Mariner, the footloose and fancy freak. Come on,
Yeah.
you just gotta loosen up a little.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Although, why was Boimler so blind to that ruse?
Which
Like,
one?
no, the blind to Mariner's ruse at the end. Like, come on, that was so
I think
blatantly obvious.
he was so enthralled by the thought that he knew something she didn't for once.
Yeah,
that-
but I mean, how?
that-
It's like that is obviously a Ferengi. How do you not see that?
I think he was just taking a win where he could.
Yeah, fair.
It's like, I can get a win. I have been, again, he's been crapped on from a great height all day, and he finally might get a win, so guess what he's going to do? He's gonna take it. I mean, it was very obvious. It's like, oh, come on, it's Mariner. She's smarter than this.
Exactly.
She doesn't like, she's not a fan of by the books, but it's a freaking Ferengi. Like, I know we have to take into account we're looking at this from the outside, and we have all of DS9 to learn what a Ferengi is and intimately know about their culture and what they do, but
Honestly, I think DS9 gives a more humane portrayal of the Ferengi than Voyager does. Because Voyager makes them into villains. Like,
well,
psycho, the psychos out for the money, whereas at least Quark and Nog have like some
there's bad humans and good humans
morality.
too. Like, you don't really because they're stuck in the Delta Quadrant. We see the Ferengi like what, once in the Voyager?
Twice.
What?
Twice.
What was
There
the
were
other?
the ones who went through the wormhole and made themselves into gods.
Okay.
No, they went through a wormhole, landed on this planet that was like low species, unevolved, and so they used their replicator to make themselves into gods. Like, and they had the entire planet's culture revolving around their money, and you had to wear at least one fake ear that looked more like cinnamon rolls to me, like as a sign of wealth or whatever.
I don't remember
And then,
that episode. I just remember the one where they tried to scam the communicating with home sort of thing.
yeah,
I just
That
remembered that
was
episode. I didn't remember the other one. But yeah, well, I mean,
the other one was early season. I think it was like season 3 or 4, maybe.
well, I think I think it's less that Voyager treats them like villains in that DS9 raises a few of them to be better than the cutthroat people that Ferengi can kind of be when they're left to their own devices. And mostly Ferenginar leaves Ferengi to do to their own devices unless they're causing problems for them. It's like, oh, you've stepped on the Negus's toes. Oh, guess what the liquidators are going to be looking at. you know, it's that sort of situation. Um, but they can, yeah. I mean, they're like the TNG version. That was that was kind of what they went with this episode was a TNG version. And then by DS9, we're showing that they're not stupid savages and just use whips. Like they're not all like that. And we get like Quark and Nog and Rom, and we get to see the good to middling part of the the Ferengi society, and they get humanized, and then we get Voyager. We get a couple of, you know, Ferengis just sort of without the moral restraint, the influence of Starfleet, sort of, root beering them. I assume root beering that might be confusing.
Kind of makes me thirsty.
Oh, there's a whole scene. It's basically,
it has been a hot minute since I've seen DS9.
Yeah, it was basically it's a scene. It's in the middle of the Dominion War, or it's in I think it's in the Dominion War. Yeah, because they were and Quark is sitting there, and Garrick comes in, and he pours him a glass of Canary. He's like, I won't. It's on the house. I won't be able to clear. I have a whole case of this stuff, and I won't be able to clear it because there's no demand for it because there's no Cardassians. You're the only Cardassian on the station, and Cardassian's the only one to drink Canar, essentially. And so he's talking about that, and he's like, well, and then Garrick's like, I'm so sorry for your misfortune for my people being, absolutely destroyed, or something like that, like having, the attack on my homeworld. Stay strong. He's like, and so Quark, like, I want you to try something. And he pours him a glass of root beer. And he gives it to Garrick, and Garrick, I don't know. Try it. It drinks it. That's vile. It's so, yeah, and then Quark's like, yes, it's so bubbly and cloying. And Garrick's like, it's and it's just I'm missing some lines here, but it's like, just like the just like the Federation. And then Quark's like, you know what's scary? If you drink enough of it, you start to like it. And Garrick's like, it's insidious. And Quark's just like the Federation. And they go, and then Garrick's like, do you think they'll save us? And Quark, I forget what his answer to that is, but that's essentially the whole thing. Is the Federation has a very insidious way of sort of influencing other species in the galaxy.
I guess technically, for whatever legal reasons, they couldn't exactly use beer, so I guess they chose root beer.
I think that was the whole point. It had to be something sweet and bubbly. It's like, and it had to be human, sweet, and bubbly. And so they thought, Well, they can't use a name brand soft drink like Coca-Cola because that wouldn't fly. But
That's true.
root beer is, you can talk about it. You can use that as much as you want because that's not a branded thing. That's a type of drink, but it's not a. It's sweet and it's bubbly and whatnot, and it's human, but it's not
Uh,
branded.
Give us some time and somebody will copyright the term root beer.
It's more of a group of drinks. Like you can't copyright whiskey. You can't copyright whiskey or soda. You can copyright Dr. Pepper or trademark or whatever it is.
It's funny. I drink actual soda, and people are like, "That's not soda." When
It's
tech,
literally what it is. It's soda
tech,
water. It's how you got the name soda.
exactly. Technically, what I drink is genuine soda versus what they drink is soda pop.
Anyway,
Because soda is just carbonated water.
yeah. But anyway, off on my tangent of root beer, and that's a great scene. So if you get a chance. But
If it weren't for the fact that Netflix was getting rid of Voyager, I would have gone in order. But I only found out Netflix was getting rid of Voyager because I went to watch a scene. Like, oh, there was a meme, and I'm like, oh, I want to watch this episode now. And then it's like, last chance to watch it is the 30th. And I'm like, fuck. I'm still not done because I've been working and crap, and I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
but anyway, oh, what was I gonna say? Okay, well, what else? Yeah.
It's another be yourself because
It takes all kinds.
Yeah,
it
Is
does.
basically the message of that episode. It takes all kinds. Though,
but I mean,
frankly,
be true to yourself because trying to change yourself to for someone else doesn't work. Because he was like trying to, in order to get to spend more time with Tendi, he was trying to, trying out all these other careers, and it's like none of them worked because that just wasn't him, although he did them great. And they're like, oh, you're awesome at this, blah blah blah. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, but except for command, because
Well,
although
and
I mean,
bedside manner.
he
Like the only thing he was good at, really good at consistently, uh, was
engineering and
security. It was
yeah,
security outside of his what he was doing. The only one he was really
yeah,
consistently good at was security because he had a terrible bedside manner.
oh yeah.
He actually was really good with you know with the operating bit, but just don't make him deal with patients.
Yeah, and I gotta say though, send him on a Borg ship and all your problems are solved.
Well, it's interesting to see. Like, also that's I imagine that is planting the seed for something we'll see later on. Like they'll come back to that to use it as a way of that's their get out of jail free button if somebody if the lower decks kind of force them get in there and they have a problem. It's like, oh no, oh uh, just send Rutherford at him because he could just turn on that implant and start ripping people to pieces.
The funny thing is, his first name is Samantha.
What?
So,
If you look on IMDb, because I was looking it up,
Yeah.
his name is he's Ensign Samantha Rutherford.
Okay. See what else was there.
I love how accepting the crew is. Like, he's just like, I think I want to explore new opportunities, and it's like, you're leaving me? Yes. Oh, have fun.
Well,
Woo!
I think
But
that it could also be that they know what he is like. He's a known quantity. They've probably known him a while, and it's like, no, he's gonna wind up right back here. So let's just let him have fun for a week, running around trying different career paths. It's like, yeah, but once he's gotten a chance to explore all that, he'll realize, hey, I like those.
Yeah, his bedside manner could use some help. How are you still alive?
And since you're sort of you're dealing with the Cerritos, it's not exactly the most like you're dealing with the people from the lower decks on a backwater ship, so it's like their skill levels are all pretty low as it is. So just sort of swapping around, letting him try something out, see if he is any better. If he figures out he just wants to stay the same, great. He now won't have to. He won't be questioning that anymore, and you won't have to deal with it again. He's figured out what he wants, and if he figures out he's really good at something else, well, great. You just get in a. Basically, it's a bit of cross training, is all it is.
yeah,
So he's cross trained in a few different things. So now he's better prepared. Like if he
I mean,
wanted to join security, it wouldn't be. He knows he has options.
I
Probably
mean,
won't, but
personally, I would love his job. Like, you're telling me I can spend days to like an entire week alone by myself, away from everybody in a tunnel? Yes, please.
right? That does sound like a fun job.
I get paid doing it too.
The only thing is, it always seemed hot in the Jeffries tubes.
I mean, that just depends on the environmental controls. Plus, I mean, he is a cyborg, so he
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
probably has better thermal regulation.
Well, I mean,
that's
just in
pretty
all the
yeah.
episodes, it always seemed like the the Jeffries tubes were warmer. I mean, maybe just the way they acted in them, but just
Yeah, I mean, it could be most of the times when you see people in the Jeffries tubes, it's because the turbo lifts were down, which means there's a problem with
yeah, they'd
something in
have to climb
the
around. But then
ship.
again, he also said
They have
there's
to
red
fix.
hot plasma or whatever it was
Yeah,
coursing through it, so it probably is a little warmer because of that too.
yeah. But I mean, like I said, he probably has some sort of thermoregulation built into his because of the cybernetic implants and stuff. So
Beep boop 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 beep boop boop.
But yeah, I mean, it it's kind of in the whole Boimler Mariner thing is kind of interesting in that he's got a ridiculous amount of book knowledge, and as long as he's in a controlled environment, he's excellent. And if you want somebody to follow protocol, like if this would have been like a Vulcan instead of a Klingon, like yeah, you send Boimler. If this had been a Vulcan or a Tellarite. Although I think Mariner would have been better with a Tellarite because they love to argue, and I think she would have enjoyed that immensely. um, but yeah, if it had been something else, a Romulan, a Vulcan, somebody with a little more, I want to be treated. Romulans especially would want to be treated with respect. Like Boimler would probably be the. It was somebody normal, but it's a freaking
are you
Klingon.
saying Klingons aren't normal?
Well, for humans compared to
Yeah.
humans, they have a different kind of way they show respect. Like most of the species in the galaxy, oh yes, ambassador, welcome to the shuttle, and all that sort of thing. They would love that sort of thing. But But Klingons are more, bring me some blood wine and some fresh gagh. I want that. Mariner is a better one to do that, and
Yeah.
Tellarites probably would be better with Mariner because again they love to argue, and I think Mariner would be really good at making them happy with that.
I
It would
think
freak Boimler out. You probably know they were arguing, but you would think she's going too far, and so it's like,
yeah.
but
Boimler would be better with the Bolians. I could just imagine them going all really anal together.
yeah,
And I don't need that.
yeah. Any species that's really, I like this a very certain way. I want to, I want, I'm expecting a very specific kind of greeting. Stuff you can learn from a book, sort of thing. This is the proper greeting for a Bolian, or this or that. Like anybody that requires them to show non-deference, like he's really good at showing deference, but he's not very good at sort of the sort of thing Mariner is good at. Like between them, they're very good at a lot of things, but yeah, Mariner is right now is a lot more flexible.
Yeah. And one thing I have to say, all those poor innocent children.
Oh my gosh, yes. Let's do it again with more children this time.
It's like in all the thousands of times this has been done, that has never happened.
It's a
Let's try it with
reverse.
more kids next time. Let's watch more kids get out the airlock.
It's a reverse Kobayashi Maru. It's like, how did you fail that?
See, that's what I never got. It's like having kids on a spaceship that could be going into, like dangerous situations.
Okay, first of all, it's this one especially is a second contact, so it's supposed to be safe and it's supposed to be all dude like.
Yeah, but who knows if second contact or first contact, like they're on the way back to the planet, right? It's like, oh hey, like there's the Borg.
Okay, the Borg infiltrate planets too,
You know.
But also a lot of those deep space ships, they're long term. They're out for years on end.
Yeah.
And it's mostly scientific. So, of course, they're going to have their families with them. So they,
Yeah,
be
the
away from
galaxy
your
was meant to
kids.
be a deep space, long term, running around and that sort of thing. So I mean, it's just and the Cerritos looks just like they basically took the top off of a galaxy and strapped some different legs on it.
Like,
Yeah. So their exploration and science, they're not, their armament is basically self-defense. It's not like a warship.
I also find it funny that for the most part, like the Voyager was supposed to be, I think they were supposed to be a deep space science thing.
Yeah, it was a science ship.
Yeah, it was. I know it was a science ship. I forget if it was supposed to be a long-term deep space, because it was meant to be faster as well. Like it was faster. It was a science ship. It was meant for long, deep exploration missions. But they also didn't. They didn't really have families on board. It was.
Well, that was their first mission. That was more of a
Shakedown cruise.
But it was more just testing it out, trying it out, stretching its legs for a bit before going.
But it had a full crew, so this was supposed to be their crew. This was supposed to be a run with the crew a crewed run for the first time. So they had everybody they were supposed to have, I think. So if they had everybody they were supposed to have, and there was no families on board, I guess they figured, okay, we're just going to put a bunch of men and women on a deep space science ship and see what happens.
Also, just think about the mission they were on. Their mission was a
Yeah, it was. It was to capture the.
dangerous one, so of course they weren't going to have kids on board
Yeah, but they
that they knew
it's
of.
not like they. Well, we never heard that they left. Like they never brought up that they left anybody on DS9, any kids on DS9. Like
Well,
no,
yeah,
that would have been an interesting story if they had. Like that would have been like, yeah, we left the kids on DS9 since we're going after. What's his face?
well,
The
at
McKee.
least a few of them had families to get back to. I mean,
Yeah.
Ensign Watson had her husband, Naomi's father, and Janeway herself had her fiance Mark, who gave up on her. So,
But anyway, I think we, for the most part, squeezed this one dry.
So not about the episode, but I'm just curious if you were to what aliens would we be if we were in Star Trek?
I
Probably
would
would all
say
be.
Dex would probably be a Vulcan.
I can
I'm
see
not
that.
that cold.
I would probably be either a Klingon or a Romulan.
But they pose no threat to us, so we're okay.
And you would be. No, wait, no. I would be a Q.
Of
Of
course.
course you would be.
Of course I would. You would be a Talaxian.
See, I don't know Star Trek, so I don't know if I should be insulted or not.
Neelix.
Yeah, Talaxians are an interesting bunch. They're very friendly.
Oh,
They're
okay,
very
that's good.
friendly
Not
traders,
all of them.
usually.
Neelix is very friendly, but they also can be very they're mostly traders, but they're also sometimes scammers.
Yeah, sounds like me.
Yeah. And very bad cooks.
Okay, that is not me. I feel
Lovely,
insulted.
lovely Olarut.
Oh, that was good.
Okay, well, we'll call that an episode, I think.
Yeah.